from the Mercy One studio.
Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. It's time to hear from the top Christian litigators in the nation who have come forward to tell us the truth and help us defend our faith.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano, is in session.
And good Thursday morning from the Mercy One Up studios in West Des Moines. I'm Deacon Mike Mano, and this is Gina Knoll with me. Good morning, Gina. How are you?
Good morning, Deacon. I'm doing well.
I see you wore your face mask today.
I did wear my face mask.
Yeah.
I visited the very scary city or state of Florida last week, so I'm protecting everyone here in the studio.
I think I told you I was making a mask at home, but I was having problems cutting out the eyes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's an ongoing joke with you, isn't it?
That's right. Well, I got to have something to say, right?
That's right. I'm glad to see that you're wearing a mask occasionally also.
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah. But it's hard to wear a mask and talk on the radio at the same time, so.
It is.
Yeah. But we want everybody to be safe, and if that's what it takes to be safe, then wear the mask.
Exactly. I'd like to protect you all.
That's right. All right. We've got a number of things we want to talk about today. We've got a couple of guests coming up that ought to be very educational for us.
Yeah.
First, we have Lindsie Rank, who is from the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. And, I've written a lot about things that are going on in college campuses for my column on in the Wanderer.
That's right.
But we really haven't had much of that on the radio. And I think we may want to do a little bit more of that, because what we're talking about here basically are rights of free expression. And if you don't have the right for free expression, you cannot evangelize.
Well, exactly.
Right?
It can affect us in the area of religious liberties.
Right. We did have a student question a couple of weeks ago, and that was with a student at Florida State University.
That's
who
right.
was removed from his post as president of the Student Senate. They found him talking about Catholic doctrine, which he supported, in a private Catholic chat room, and decided that was too much for Florida State University. So the Student Senate there removed him from office. He was appealing to the Student Supreme Court, which apparently has a vacancy on it that nobody wants to take, which is a Chief Justice position, so they can't adjudicate the case without a Chief Justice. So the Alliance Defending Freedom has now taken the matter to the, a Vice President of Student Affairs for the university, saying, you better intervene in this and do something, because there's obviously some harm coming to this young man because of being removed from his position by his peers. My guess is, just following these cases, that the university is going to say that's a student matter, we're leaving it up to them, and then the lawsuits will follow. The federal lawsuits will follow.
He'll be in limbo until they go to the
he'll be in limbo
civil
for a
courts.
while, right? But eventually, freedom of expression has got to prevail, because if it doesn't, we're all up a creek. We're all up a creek at that point.
It's all part of that, what they call cancel culture, and he became a victim of that particular movement.
Which is my column appearing this week in the Wanderer.
In the Wanderer.
I cancel you. That's the title for the column. But yeah, and that's going to be rather serious. That anymore we basically erase people.
And today we explore the same kind of issues, sort of, the campus of Fordham University in New York and Truman State in Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they'll be interesting.
Right, and one has to do with posts that should have been protected. The other has to do with animal rights, which is kind of interesting, but the logic behind what the college was saying is something that, we'll have Lindsie on in a few minutes.
She'll explain it all.
She'll explain it all to us, because she handled both those cases for the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. FIRE is what we call it. FIRE.
FIRE
right?
is the Foundation for
Individual Rights
in
Education. Yeah, there's a number of groups like that, and she happens to be from FIRE, and she has a title there, and I forget what it is at this point. But she'll tell us when she comes on. All right, do you have a prayer to open us up with?
I do. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. God of peace, bring your peace to our violent world. peace in the hearts of all men and women, and peace among the nations of the earth. Turn to your way of love those whose hearts and minds are consumed with hatred. Strengthen us in hope and give us the wisdom and courage to work tirelessly for a world where true peace and love reign among nations and in the hearts of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we'll be back in a few minutes with Lindsie Rank, who will bring fire to the station.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and John Leonetti in the Morning is provided by Blessman International. According to a 2019 Global Food Security Report, more than 820 million people in the world are hungry today. None of us can help all of them. Most of us can help one child. Your gift of $1 a day through Blessman International provides a child in South Africa with a daily hot meal, place of safety, educational experience, and spiritual development. To get started, go to blessmaninternational.org and click Sponsor a Child.
Is it time for a new roof? Then it could be time for you to get to know Bell Construction. Bell Construction is a roofing company entering its 30th year of business. They specialize in residential re-roofs, light commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494.
Thank you, Big Red Q Quick Print, for underwriting the sports report. Family owned and operated since 1980, Big Red Q Quick Print is a full-service print shop ready to help you with all your printing needs with speed and accuracy. Forms, manuals, brochures, letterhead, envelopes, business cards, custom invitations, design, and bindery. Big Red Q Quick Print, located across from Merle Hay Mall. Online at bigredq-desmoines.com. Big Red Q Quick Print. We make printing easy.
What is the best gift ever? Giving a Catholic education is at the top of my list. Your contribution to CTO helps families send their children to our Catholic schools who otherwise could not afford it. In giving to CTO, you receive the best tax credits ever. Pledge or donate online at ctoiowa.org. The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Dowling Catholic Sports on Iowa Catholic Radio is provided in part by Ashworth Vision Clinic. With 2 licensed optometrists, Barbara Sheets, a Dowling graduate, and Dr. Greg Harper, the Ashworth Vision Clinic team provides complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. Ashworth Vision Clinic is located at Ashworth and 60th Street in West Des Moines, 515-440-4610, ashworthvision.com. 515-440-4610, ashworthvision.com. Ashworth Vision Clinic.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. This is Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we are back. And we have with us right now Lindsie Rank, who's from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education. FIRE is the acronym. Lindsie, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Just fine, just fine. I don't think we've ever had anybody on the program from FIRE, so why don't you briefly explain to our folks here what FIRE is and what your goals and missions are.
Sure. We are a national nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and our mission is to defend the free expression and academic freedom rights and other civil liberties of students and faculty on campuses across the country.
And I see on your website you have a lot of information for people that may want to follow this. If you real quick, can you give us your website for people that want to get on and follow, maybe have some other questions for you?
Absolutely. It's www.thefire.org.
Very good. All right, I want to talk to you about a couple of cases that are have percolated through your system. One is still going, I guess, and that's the one at, let's see, we have Austin Togg, is that his name?
Austin Tong, yeah,
Tong,
at Fordham.
At Fordham University. Incidentally, I saw him last night. I guess it was on one of the Fox shows. But anyway, he was talking about his plight. Why don't you explain what was happening to Austin that came to your attention?
Yeah, absolutely. Austin is a rising senior at Fordham, and he's also a Chinese-American immigrant. He came to this country when he was 6 years old, partially because his parents wanted to make sure that he was going to have, all the freedoms that America has to offer.
He found out about some of those real quick here, didn't he?
Yeah, yes, he did. So on just this last month, on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, where, as I'm sure many of your listeners know, the Chinese government unfortunately attacked and killed many pro-democracy protesters. Austin used his social media to commemorate that anniversary with a picture of himself in his backyard with his gun that he, legally owns and is registered and everything. So there was that post, and there was another post where he was commenting on the death of St. Louis former police captain David Dorn. People got upset by these posts, and the Fordham administration was included in that.
Now let's step back a minute. David Dorn was the black retired police officer that was killed. Was he not?
Yes.
And he was the right one that was protecting his friend's pawn shop or something like that. He was there, and he was shot and killed during the rioting. Yeah,
something like that. I'm not, an expert on that situation, but I know that, Austin, himself being sort of a proponent of civil rights and civil liberties, was really upset about that situation and posted, like I said, on his social media about his concern and frustration over that situation, as well as, him commemorating this horrible thing that happened in his home country 31 years ago.
Okay, so he's protesting what happened to the black retired police captain, I think he was, and what was happening in his homeland 30-some years ago. And he posted those things on his own private Instagram site. So what's Fordham's brief with that now? What are they?
So first, Fordham sent public safety officers at midnight or something along those lines to check in on Austin. The public safety officers determined that he wasn't a risk to anyone, and that he was, just posting, sort of commemorating these events that he was upset about. But he was then charged with a bunch of different charges at his university, including bias incidents, and now he went through a hearing and ended up being found responsible, and has some incredible sanctions against him by Fordham right now, including that he's not allowed to step foot on campus, he's not allowed to serve in any sort of student leadership role, which is a big deal for him because he was previously on student government. So it's a really unfortunate situation in which Fordham really acted against Austin for his political expression and has punished him in a really big way.
I hate to interject this here, but Fordham is a Jesuit university.
It is, yes.
Yes.
And as a product of a Jesuit university, that kind of unsettles me a little bit. All right, so his position right now is he's banned from campus, but he's allowed to continue his education online, isn't he?
He's allowed to continue his education online, but it is notable that Fordham right now plans to have in-person classes in the fall. So he's still being, he's being kept back from those in-person classes that he would normally have access to. In addition to that, like I said, he's on disciplinary probation, which forbids him from all kinds of things, including holding leadership positions. And if he violates the disciplinary probation, then he will be immediately expelled or suspended.
I noticed also that they're requiring him to take some kind of bias training or indoctrination training.
Yeah, so they're requiring him to take a bias training with the administration, as well as write an apology for his posts. So these are all...
To whom? The apology to whom?
It's not entirely clear, frankly, but it appears an apology to the university and the university community.
Not to the Chinese?
Yeah, I mean, the letter that he received notifying him of these sanctions doesn't say to whom the apology is to be written. It appears from context, like I said, that it's probably the university community, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
It sounds like he may be planning some legal action. It was Laura Ingram's program that I think he was on last night, and as I recall, he was indicating that he may be doing something legally, taking some steps legally against the university. So anyway, this poor guy comes along. He makes what could be considered, I suppose, a political statement, commentary on society today, commentary on what happened historically on that particular day 31 years ago. And so now he's canceled, right? This is the cancel culture.
I would say that the university has taken some very strong actions against him that not only punish Austin, but also create a huge chilling effect on their campus that will prevent other students and faculty from feeling safe to speak their minds without facing repercussions.
Now, having read your webpage for quite a while now, this shouldn't surprise anybody who's familiar with what fire does, right?
This is our bread and butter, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, this is the type of case that we see every day and that we're constantly trying to, fight back against.
It's surprising to me that so many universities don't understand this concept. I noticed that Fordham is probably receives one of your worst ratings for free speech on campus, and I envision campuses as one of the most free areas of expressing your opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate. We've definitely seen campuses across the country, punishing students from across the political spectrum for their political speech, and it's a really concerning trend that we're seeing. It's been Fire's mission all along, but I think lately we had a huge uptick in cases.
Interesting. I wonder if that's just a trend in the national, in the wave of this cancel culture throughout the national.
Well, this has been going on for several years, and one of the things, and Lindsie, I'm sure you're aware of all of this, the free speech zones in college campuses, where they give you about a quarter of a square yard where you can stand and say whatever you want. And usually that generous allotment of space they give you is in the basement in the catacomb someplace where nobody goes.
Yeah, we see cases like that. Less often, I think, than we used to. I think in some ways colleges have become more savvy with how they're punishing students for free speech. And I think we see probably overall less universities with those sort of very specific policies that say you're only allowed to speak in X place at X time. But we still see that. And I think we see more and more of what we're seeing with Austin's case here and with some of the other similar cases that we're working on, where colleges have sort of figured out how to use policies that aren't necessarily detrimental to free speech on their face in a way that is detrimental to free speech.
Yeah.
So is there a difference, Lindsie, between a private institution and a public institution in the kinds of limits they can put on a student in terms of speech and organizations?
Yeah, there absolutely is a big difference. So at a public university, the university is, of course, an arm of the state, and therefore the First Amendment applies. So administrations at a public university really can't censor free expression any more than like the city council of your local, jurisdiction could censor free expression.
Okay.
At a private university, they're free to set whatever policies they want to set. So frankly, a private university we would find it unwise, but a private university could say, hey, we don't value free speech here. And they would be free to do that. The thing is, at schools like Fordham, which is private, but they have very clear commitments to free expression. And our position is that if you have these sort of clear commitments to free expression in your student handbook and public statements, then students come to your college expecting that right to free expression on campus, and you have to uphold those promises. You can't promise one thing and then when you don't like what they have to say, sort of double back on that.
Yeah, that becomes part of the contract between the university and the student. It's much like an employer's handbook. It becomes a contract between the employer and the employee.
Exactly.
He understands what he or she can do, and when they exercise those options, then they're slapped down for it.
Certainly.
And that's a problem. All right, real quick, I want to talk about Truman State University and the animal rights case that you had. I guess this was settled last fall, but it was kind of an interesting fact pattern here.
Yeah, sure. This is sort of another iteration of administrations punishing speech that they don't like that we see a lot, which is refusal to grant recognition status to student organizations with which an administration might disagree. So at Truman State, which is in Missouri, a group of students had gotten together to create a animal rights vegan club. And the administration determined that club was too emotionally risky for students at Truman State and denied recognition. It was a really frustrating case because it was shocking, to all of us to think, like, what about being vegan is emotionally damaging or risky to other students.
And how did they defend that? What is emotionally risky about being an organization?
Yeah, I mean, they never really clarified that. And we were really grateful because once we did write to Truman and say, hey, like, you can't have this type of policy which allows the administration to refuse to recognize student organizations because of these subjective tests like emotional riskiness. Truman did work with us to revise their policies. So the Vegan Club did actually end up getting recognized, and we're really optimistic that this type of thing won't happen again, because at the time, it wasn't just a vegan club. There was a religion and philosophy club that had been denied for similar reasons. There was a transgender alliance club that had been denied for similar reasons. There was even a group that their mission was to make hats for children with cancer, was denied for similar reasons under the same policy.
And had that policy been in place for just a long time, and somebody said, "Let's use it. This is easy. We can get rid of. We can cancel whatever we don't agree with."
Yeah, I mean, it appeared that it had been in place for a while, and it was this committee, this administratively appointed committee, that got to decide who could and couldn't create a student organization on campus. And I think it was something like 43 out of 89 clubs within a 2-year period, I think, that were denied recognition based on
And they probably
this
have been doing that for years and figured we can continue to do this without any objection.
Exactly.
So it was good that your organization came in and helped this vegan club so that they could set precedents and help the students going forward. What a wonderful outcome for you and for the students.
Yeah, we were really, really pleased, and we're super optimistic to see
I'm sure we have in our audience somewhere people, well, like you, Gina, who have children that are in college that may need your help at some point. Why don't you give us your web page again so that we can contact you, or they can contact you if they have any questions or need any assistance?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's www.thefire.org, and we do have a case submission page. So if anyone's facing issues, we are happy to help.
Very good.
Right.
Thank you for joining us today, and we're going to have you back. We're going to follow some more stuff on your page because I think this is very important that we get to the bottom of some of this, or at least point this out to our listeners that this is going on college campus. And I think just as a little aside, you mentioned that some of the things you see, the complaints are declining, like on those free speech spaces that they have. I think part of the reason behind that, Lindsie, may be the fact that so many of those have been litigated and the colleges have lost, and the colleges have had to pay all sorts of attorneys' fees for the other side. I think has put a chilling effect on what they want it to do.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I look forward to being back on.
We'll have you. We'll have you. We're looking forward to having you back, too. You want to move to Des Moines, and you can sit in with us every week then. You're in Philadelphia, aren't you?
Yeah, we're in Philadelphia.
All right, my family's from Philadelphia. Philly's open up tomorrow.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. We will see you later. Thank you very much for joining us.
So much.
Lindsie Rank from the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. This is Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we will be right back after these messages.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and John Leonetti in the Morning is provided by Blessman International. The coronavirus has impacted lives in Iowa and around the world. This is especially true in rural South Africa, where COVID-19 restrictions have led to vulnerable children being hospitalized due to starvation. To combat this hunger, Blessman International now offers a program called One Child at a Time. You can sponsor a child in South Africa for $1 a day. Learn more at blessmaninternational.org. blessmaninternational.org.
Is it time for a new roof? Then it could be time for you to get to know Bell Construction. Bell Construction is a roofing company entering its 30th year of business. They specialize in residential re-roofs, light commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494.
What is the best gift ever? Well, some might say a Catholic education, and I agree. But if you think you can't afford Catholic education, think again. Apply for CTO, and you could receive up to half your tuition for kindergarten through 12th grade. More information is online, ctoiowa.org. The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Dowling Catholic Sports on Iowa Catholic Radio is provided in part by Ashworth Vision Clinic. With 2 licensed optometrists, Barbara Sheets, a Dowling graduate, and Dr. Greg Harper, the Ashworth Vision Clinic team provides complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. Ashworth Vision Clinic is located at Ashworth and 60th Street in West Des Moines, 515-440-4610, ashworthvision.com. 515-440-4610, ashworthvision.com. Ashworth Vision Clinic.
Thank you, Dental Associates, for underwriting Dowling Catholic Sports 365. With over 40 years' experience, Dental Associates is a group dental practice with the mission of promoting optimum health and well-being to all patients, providing preventative, restorative, and cosmetic dentistry for the entire family. Message underwritten by Dr. Kenton Gleichman, Dr. Steve Karbaka, Dr. Christine Mulcahy, and Dr. Ben Nagel. Dental Associates, addressing your smile, needs, and dreams. Online at DesMoines-DentalAssociates.com.
Here's your forecast on Iowa Catholic Radio. Hot and humid over the next couple of days with high pressure overhead. We'll be in the upper 80s today and mostly sunny. Down to 70 and clear tonight. Then we'll break into the low 90s tomorrow with our heat index just over 100. And we'll have sunshine, sunny and warm on Saturday. The weather is brought to you by Divine Treasures, a Catholic book and gift store serving the Des Moines community for over 25 years. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton on Iowa Catholic Radio.
And we're back. This is Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and our next guest joining us right now is Erick Kaardal, who is a special counsel for the Thomas More Society, who's dealing with some lawsuits in Texas where it looks like pro-abortion folks are trying to chill First Amendment free speech rights of the pro-life people. Erick, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate you taking time with us.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you, if you can, give us kind of the thumbnail version of what is going on, because it seems like it's a case where we're kind of reverse, the positions are reversed. Usually we're defending something.
That's right. Here are the pro-abortion groups, which are getting much more active now that we have cancel culture. The pro-life groups sued pro-life activists Mark Lee Dixon and Right to Life of East Texas, saying that their statements that abortion is a crime in Texas is defamation. So they're seeking monetary damages. And the pro-life groups, people, I guess, that we're representing, they're suing to establish a First Amendment right in Texas to say abortion is a crime. After all, in the criminal code in Texas, it says abortion is a crime.
All right, let's take that apart a little bit. obviously, since Roe versus Wade, we've seen abortion allowed. The legal question would be then, does that nullify the state statutes that say abortion is a crime?
No, because federal courts don't have the power to repeal a state statute. They do have the power to enjoin enforcement of a state statute. So in Texas, abortion is a crime. The federal courts have enjoined enforcement of that statute. That's fine. That's not what we're disputing in the case. But abortion is still a crime. So it's not, it's truthful in Texas to say abortion is a crime. And the pro-abortion groups have to learn to live with that.
We hear some pro-life people all the time referring to abortion as murder, but I don't see anybody objecting to that designation. They may, not like it, but I don't see anybody. Maybe there has been.
No one's been sued.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody. Yeah, that's been sued over that.
Right, and I think our clients are being very careful to stick with the code definition. So in Texas, abortion is a crime, different levels of misdemeanor and so forth. And so the point would be that we want pro-lifers to state the truth about the law in Texas, but the cancel culture pro-abortion people don't want the truth to get out. And so it's a very important issue. I mean, all these issues are now kind of being turned into free speech issues because the left is, they're in the state of totalization. They know the whole truth, and they think that they don't need a dialogue with us, so they're trying to cancel our speech and our thoughts.
Yeah, instead of trying to argue or fight it out on an even playing field where ideas are exchanged, they try and shut the other side down. So it sounds like what they're doing in Texas here is they're initially trying to chill the First Amendment rights of the pro-lifers.
Right, and so typically you're right. In Western civilization, we end up dialoguing, coming up with laws and working things through, and there's some good faith there. But the pro-abortion groups have gone completely into this cancel culture. So they not only want to, sue people who have our ideas, but they want to deter other people from expressing those ideas as well. So they wanted to put Mark Lee Dixon and Right to Life of East Texas kind of, on a pike and show, hey, if you have pro-life ideas in Texas, this is what's going to happen to you. And they're not being democratic about it. They're trying to stop us from even having a chance politically.
Yeah, and we see that happening with social media too, where people are being booted off of various social media outlets because they tend to speak the truth on things like abortion, same-sex marriage, and things like that. That's verboten anymore. You just can't do that.
Oh, right. So here, the statement, abortion is a crime, is truthful in Texas. So, if we're not going to be able in Texas to say abortion is a crime, we're not going to be able to argue in the other 49 states that abortion should be a crime. It's all related, and the pro-abortion groups, these cancel culture warriors, they all know this. So we have to kind of update and fight back.
So the benefit of having this particular suit by the opponents of the life movement is so that the message Texans hear is that abortion is criminal, is very detrimental. They have to work very hard to overcome that perception if the pro-life language is very successful. Is that the reason for this suit, do you think?
Oh, right. That pro-lifers should not be penalized for making truthful statements.
True.
And so the pro-abortion people, the lefties, the cancel culture warriors, they don't want us to speak even if we're stating the truth.
So they're trying to limit their speech altogether. They're just honing in on this particular portion of the speech.
Oh, they are, but they're trying to chill us all. I mean, they want to get out the idea that if you talk about abortion as a crime, that's defamation, and we can sue you. And of course, there are criminal defamation statutes, and I'm sure they'd want to prosecute us too. And so it's a very scary time if you're trying to transmit pro-life, pro-family values. And all I can say is that we're going to have to fight on every front that cancel culture is taking on.
Now, you've, in defense of the pro-lifers, you filed actually, I guess it's 8 suits in 8 different counties in Texas. What are you asking the court to do in those suits? Because I looked at them and they're pretty much all the same thing. It just names have changed into different counties.
Right. We're trying to establish a federal right across the state of Texas that someone who reads the criminal code and says abortion is a crime is not liable for defamation. And so the criminal code of Texas says abortion is a crime, and then our people are saying abortion is a crime, and the other side is saying that's false. That it's true, and if it's truthful speech, then why is the government using the court system to hold these people accountable for defamation? And so that's why we want to consolidate the cases, because the pro-abortion people can't be right that if someone repeats the Texas criminal code, that somehow they're liable for defamation. And so here's an example of the pro-abortion lefties resisting the truth. They're trying to use the government to stop truthful statements, and it's horrific. It's Orwellian. It's it's the worst thing you could think of.
So in your suits, the 8 suits that you filed in the 8 different counties, you're taking individuals from those counties and suing the 3 organizations that have come after the pro-life movement. Correct?
Correct.
And what are we asking the judge to tell us in the end of these cases? What do we need the judge to say?
That in Texas, because the criminal code says that abortion is a crime, people are free to talk in Texas that abortion is a crime. Great. And the pro-abortion people who are trying to make that a cause for defamation lawsuits are in error, because the court can't take a truthful statement and make it into defamation.
It sounds pretty cut and dried to me. I can't even imagine that a judge would see it any other way.
I would hope so.
You would be surprised when judges can see some of these
I'm
things.
not the lawyer. I'm not usually in court, so...
The idea of the sort of the cancel culture warriors using the courts to stymie free speech is a relatively new one. And, a lot of our children and a lot of our friends, in the pro-life movement may have grown up in, a world where everyone was supposed to appreciate everyone else's ideas. And so these cancel culture warriors have introduced something new now, and that is they're going to try to cancel your ideas or speech, even us, let's say employment at a big firm or something. So this is where they're going, and now we have to respond. So these lawsuits were filed in response to these cancel culture warriors going too far and overreaching. Right. But this is going to be more common.
So we have 8 cases in front of 8 different courts or judges. What is your hope? Do you say a majority of them win, and then will it become precedent in Texas and the anti-life groups will step down and quit attacking pro-life organizations? Or what is the ultimate effect of positive rulings in a majority of the cases?
Oh, it's much bigger than that. I mean, that is one of the goals, but the bigger goal is to save democracy. I mean, the pro-lifers now are in a position with the cancel culture warriors going after them, because it's not just these issues, it's all the other issues. I mean, geez, if you're against socialism, you're against Medicare for all, or whatever issue it is, you end up, they want to cancel you. So we're trying to save America, and this is one small step in that way. And it's come to that because the left decided to go cancel culture, and we're stuck with responding. And I'm just hoping the courts are strong enough to uphold the First Amendment rights of the people. Otherwise, there's dark days ahead.
So how did we choose these 8 different counties? Because there's quite a few counties in Texas.
They were pro-lifers who stood up and they expressed concern and agreed to be clients.
So on behalf of the individuals that lived in those particular counties, that's how you chose the county.
Right. So they're activists.
They're activists and they're willing to take this risk.
Okay, now it seems to me there's a little bit of a risk here. If you run the table, that's fine, but you're liable to have some split opinions here. You may have, 6 and 2, 4 and 4, whatever. That means that somebody's going to appeal, and whoever appeals is going to have at least one winning case on their side. So what's it look like when these cases then get all consolidated on an appeal to the Texas Supreme Court?
Well, I think both sides would understand what's at stake, and so we expect this to go through the Texas appellate court system and perhaps reach to the U.S. Supreme Court. But it's really a critical issue. But the U.S. Supreme Court has and the state Supreme Courts have been able to handle these things. So basically, there's a difference between the right to abortion and the free speech rights of people who protest outside abortion clinics. Right. And so this would be another example of this. That if the left's winning, they've got the right to abortion, but it's a whole other thing to cancel out critics of abortion.
Right.
And
okay,
that's
now,
where we're at.
Just looking at the procedure here, which as a lawyer I'm kind of interested in, are these cases then going to be consolidated for one hearing, or are they going to be tried in 8 different jurisdictions?
What we're attempting to do is consolidate them, and we're looking for agreement from the anti-life side. And so those parties are being consulted with right now to see if they would stipulate to consolidating everything.
Okay,
that's being negotiated.
Okay.
All right. Then I take it you'll agree to a particular venue.
Oh, right. We would work that out with the defendants, or they're plaintiffs too, right? They're plaintiffs in their suits, defendants in ours. Right. We want to consolidate all the cases and then consolidate the hearings as much as we can.
Gotcha.
We don't know if they'll agree or not. We just sent over the communications recently.
Okay. Now, you filed these cases just recently. I take it you've not had any response back yet from the other side.
No filings yet, and we're looking for a response on the consolidation issue.
Okay, so that'll be the first step then, whether you're going to consolidate or not.
Correct.
Then you get into the actual issues. Okay, well, it's kind of a unique situation that you're suing, asking, I guess, for a declaratory judgment.
It's brilliant, from what I can
Yeah,
tell.
it is.
I don't have a legal background, but it seems brilliant. Strategy to me.
I wouldn't have expected this, but I'm happy you're doing it, Eric, and I wish you luck. We're all praying for you that it works out, because we're all on your side on this thing.
Yeah, thank you. And we who are on the side of the angels have to work closely together because of these new strategies coming out. It's not a time to go tend your garden. We got to be engaged.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Very well said. Eric, I want to thank you for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. And before we go, you have a website for the Thomas More Society in case anybody wants any additional information?
That's right. ThomasMoreSociety.org, and there's more information there about the cases, and we'll keep people updated.
Very good. Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it, and we'll have you back, see how the cases are going in a little while.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. We'll be back on Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio in about 3 minutes.
What is the best gift ever? Giving a Catholic education is at the top of my list. Your contribution to CTO helps families send their children to our Catholic schools who otherwise could not afford it. In giving to CTO, you receive the best tax credits ever. Pledge or donate online at ctoiowa.org. The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Dowling Catholic Sports on Iowa Catholic Radio is provided in part by Ashworth Vision Clinic. With 2 licensed optometrists, Barbara Sheets, a Dowling graduate, and Dr. Greg Harper, the Ashworth Vision Clinic team provides complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. Ashworth Vision Clinic is located at Ashworth and 60th Street in West Des Moines, 515-440-4610, ashworthvision.com. 515-440-4610, ashworthvision.com. Ashworth Vision Clinic.
Thank you, Dental Associates, for underwriting Dowling Catholic Sports 365. With over 40 years' experience, Dental Associates is a group dental practice with the mission of promoting optimum health and well-being to all patients, providing preventative, restorative, and cosmetic dentistry for the entire family. Message underwritten by Dr. Kenton Gleichman, Dr. Steve Karbaka, Dr. Christine Mulcahy, and Dr. Ben Nagel. Dental Associates, addressing your smile, needs, and dreams. Online at DesMoines-DentalAssociates.com.
Thank you, CTI Ready Mix, for your support of Dowling Catholic Boys baseball broadcast. CTI Ready Mix has been serving Central Iowa since 2004 and has become a leader in ready mix concrete production. With 50 mixer trucks and locations in Johnston, Grimes, Elkhart, West Des Moines, and Carlisle, they are capable of supplying even the largest projects in Central and North Iowa. CTI Ready Mix, 1001 Southeast 37th Street, Grimes, 515-276-9567. Online at cti-ia.net.
Thank you to Mercy College of Health Sciences, downtown Des Moines, for underwriting our show, The Uncommon Good, with me, Bo Bonner.
And I'm Bud Marr. A degree from Mercy College provides endless possibilities. Students have access to patients with complex medical conditions, state-of-the-art medical facilities, highly motivated healthcare professionals, and classroom professors that transform them into servant leaders.
You can start the programs in fall, spring, or summer. There are endless possibilities available online at mchs.edu/kwky.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. Information about Pharmatan and other products at ImogeneIngredients.com. Paul and Paul are members of St. Augustine's Knights of Columbus and encourage their brother knights to keep standing for their faith. And this is Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and Gina and I are back. Gina, another interesting program today. They're all interesting, I think. Wouldn't put them on if we didn't think they were going to be interesting, but
what's always fun is to talk about these stories in their inception and then later to give our listeners an update on the outcomes of the cases or the actions that the individuals have taken to protect their religious liberties or their free speech or whatever the issue is that jeopardizes our faith and our practice of our faith.
Yeah, the case in Texas with, again, it's a case of attempting to chill free speech rights, and they're fighting back, and they're fighting back affirmatively, which is very good. I'm glad they're doing it. And Thomas More Society, what can you say except great things about them, what they do, and the fact that they're going after these people and basically tracking them down and dragging them into court and saying you can't do that, and we're going to have a judge tell you can't do that.
Well, it just surprises me that Thomas More is a nonprofit organization of attorneys who volunteer their time. Mostly they're pro bono cases. They're supported by individuals who make contributions to the organization, and they're quote unquote winnings, in some of these cases.
That is, and we should mention that is part of the way some of these people fund themselves is they'll get attorney's fees from the losing side. That's how the ACLU has done it many years, and so they caught on. ADF started doing it. Some of the others started doing it, and so now that's a part of their revenue is they collect attorney's fees on the other end. But these are pro bono firms that are doing this, and we've mentioned this before individually with some of them, but we ought to just mention it generically to all of them. They deserve our support, and so at the end of the month when you got a few bucks left over and you want a tax-exempt contribution, some of these places would be very good to contribute to, because they keep this stuff going and they defend our rights. The other thing we talked about today was the case of this student at Fordham University. And I think maybe we might want to start looking for more of these types of cases to talk about on the radio, because they're out there, and they've been out there for a number of years, where students, if you want to have, and they did this up at DMAC a couple of years ago. DMAC was doing something. They were, I think, buying tickets for an LGBT conference to hand out to students or whatever. One of the students there said, "Hey, that's our student fee money that's going to this, and I don't particularly like it." And so he printed up some leaflets and he started talking in the campus about it. Well, he was told that he couldn't do that, and if he wanted to hand out literature and things like this, he had to have that literature approved, and he had to have his place on campus approved, and they had to know what he was going to say and how long he was going to say it, and they had to like a 3-week lead time for him. Well, this is something that came up that was happening on Saturday, so there was no way that he was going to get 3 weeks in. Well, they took him to court. I think it was ADF that represented the kid, took him to court, and there was $10,000-$15,000 in attorney's fees that had to be paid by DMAC for that. But we see these things all the time. They've been going on for a long time. That you can't communicate with other students about politics or anything like that unless you're in a specific free speech zone. So if you're sitting down in the student cafeteria and you're talking about, what do you think about Trump? I happen to like him, and here's why. All of a sudden now they come down on you, and it usually, again, it all tilts against more conservative speakers is what happens.
Well, understandably so with some of these institutions and their leftward-leaning ideals and values.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what happened, of course, is that the integration into the academia is what a lot of these organizations were pushing for years, and they've worked on it. So now you have people who are teaching in universities who are left of center, okay?
Sure.
And then they're also teaching future teachers. And that's why you have so many high school and elementary school teachers out there who look at things like this 1619 project that's changing the whole focus of our history and adopt the curriculum because they don't know any better, because this is what they've been taught. So I think maybe we ought to spend a little more time focusing on what's been going on college campuses. And again, FIRE is a great place to start. You go to their webpage.
Sounds like they're very busy and have some very unique cases that
they
would be
are
of
busy,
interest to
and
they
have a pretty good sized staff. It looks like people that follow up on these things for them.
Now, do they do any legal action?
I don't know. I don't think they do the legal action. I think they have a legal consultant there who will help them out initially. Here's what we need to say, here's what we have to do in the letter to the school, and then maybe we'll help hook them up with the Alliance Defending Freedom, Pacific Justice Institute, depends on where they're at and who's available there, and Thomas More Society. And not all of these pro bono legal firms take all cases. In other words, some of them specialize in cases dealing with simply religious freedom, others with traditional Christian values like traditional marriage and things like that. So some of them aren't as all encompassing as others are. Now, FIRE is one of those ones that says, look, if you're being discriminated against, we'll talk to you. We'll try and help you out. And it really doesn't matter what side of the issue you're on, or what the issue is. If you're being discriminated against, we'll try and do our best to help you out. Yeah,
well, it's good that they give that information to the students and to the general public.
Yeah. I'm glad they do that, and so we'll try and have more of those people. Okay, and then next week we have an interesting program coming up. You talk about silencing people. We have a pastor that was on one of these social media outlets, and he's a former homosexual. He recovered from his homosexuality, married, has a family now, and so part of his ministry was dealing with people who are trying to overcome unwanted homosexual tendencies. Right, he was sharing those. He was on. He put up videos on his social media thing, and then all of a sudden, social media comes in and says, "You can't put those up there. Those are hateful. They took down all his videos and banned him from ever being back on the platform again. And so we're going to talk.
I can't wait to hear.
We're going to talk to that's the Advocates for Faith and Freedom.
Very nice.
Robert Tyler is doing that. He's the chief counsel there, and he's going to be with us next week. And also Robert Muse, we've had him on before.
Yes,
American Freedom Law Center. Michigan, the governor in Michigan has restricted weddings now. Okay,
she's been doing a lot of that.
She's been doing a lot of that. So we're going to.
She and her scepter.
Yeah. So we're going to see a lot of that.
Oh, good. And, Robert's good. I'm sure he'll give us some updates on some of his other cases too.
Yeah. I was talking to one of the PR persons when we were setting one of these things up, and they said, "How long do you want them for?" And I said, "Oh, probably about." 12 to 15, 16 minutes. Oh, she said, most people only want them for 5 minutes. You know? So, but we like to get in a little deeper in that.
That's good for our listeners
that
and
is,
for us.
That is. All right, we're going to have to wrap things up right now. Let me see. We have Prayer to St. Michael. Here it is. St. Michael the Archangel, and I write it down because the last thing you want to do is to forget the words in the Prayer to St. Michael.
There's so many versions of the
right, and there are so many. That's another thing we ought to do. We ought to have somebody, and there's somebody who wrote a book about the Prayer to St. Michael and how it came to be the way it is.
Well, because it's original is really long.
It's really long.
I've seen it.
It's really long, yeah. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who roam about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. That's it for this week. For Gene and myself, thank you for listening. Join us next week for another edition of Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. And we send out thank you to Paul and Paul at Imogene Ingredients for helping us be on the air. See you next week.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano. Faith on Trial, Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio, iowacatholicradio.com, and the Iowa Catholic Radio app.
Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.